Mayor Wu has leaked a bunch of emails to manipulate you into thinking that the Department of Justice is dragging their feet on a meeting when, in fact, it's Mayor Wu that's dragging her feet on a meeting. The subheadline of this Herald article is more accurate than the major headline. Trump administration visit to Boston to probe college anti-Semitism is off. That's the wrong headline, Herald. The Wu administration won't meet until it sees proof. That is much more accurate. And so what has happened here? There was a preliminary meeting earlier this month, April 9th, if I'm not mistaken. And there was another meeting scheduled for today. And because Mayor Wu didn't want today's meeting to go forward, she instead leaked a bunch of emails that tried to cover her tracks so that she'd have some type of plausible deniability. In other words, she's trying to manipulate you into the theory that it wasn't her that didn't want to do the meeting. It was the Department of Justice who didn't respond. And then she tries to passively aggressively say, we can't have this meeting until you show us the proof, right? That's why the subhead on this article is much more accurate. And then when you go over to WBUR, Trump's anti-Semitism task force is skipping its planned Boston meeting. So in this spin, which is even more egregious, it's as if the Department of Justice is skipping the meeting. Wu is going to show up. No, she's not. She was never going to show up, and her administration was not going to show up because they don't want to have the meeting with the evil orange man bad Trump administration to talk about anti-Semitism, which we just learned from the ADL yesterday is running rampant throughout the United States and especially here in Massachusetts. So I remember about a week ago, Jessica Machado put out a post on X that said that she had to wait well over 3 weeks to get a handful of the emails from a city councilor about the city councilor's trip down to Washington, D.C. to support Mayor Wu when she defended our city against the evil Washington Republican. Remember that? And yeah, and the city dragged their feet for 25 days, which I believe is the maximum number of days allowed under the law, in order to produce a handful of emails. But suddenly, out of the blue, when it seems to benefit the Wu administration, they cough up a bunch of emails to the Herald and the Globe. There's a Globe story on this. Their headline is even more disgusting. Let's see if we can I don't subscribe to the Globe, as you know. Here's the Globe spin. Trump administration asked Boston for a meeting about anti-Semitism, then it went quiet. City officials say they have not heard from the Justice Department about a meeting that was to take place today, Wednesday. Well, the real story, when you actually dig down into the details of this Herald story down here, it is crystal clear. Internal emails reveal a back and forth between the Department of Justice and the city lawyer about an advanced site visit that occurred April 9th. And while the city made a request several times for proof, the feds apparently did not provide that information and then went silent after April 9th. We are working to review our records for specific incidents in Boston that we can discuss on the 23rd of the DOJ wrote to the city. Per the mayor's office, the April 23rd meeting, which is today, was contingent upon those records being provided. And that information was never confirmed by the meeting, was never confirmed by the Wu administration. Food for thought. Food for thought, Mayor Wu. your budget, which you just increased, what was it, 4 point something percent, is $4.8 billion. You get at least $300 million a year from the federal government. You might think that there are all sorts of legal barriers to having that money be distributed to the city. And they can't touch that money. Really? 300 million. That's 6.25% of your FY26 budget. When somebody calls you that you get $300 million from, 6.25% of your budget, and they say, we want to have a meeting, you say, okay. You don't say, well, we can't have the meeting until you provide us with the proof. No, they're giving you $300 million. 6.25%. You have the meeting with you and or your staff or whoever goes. You have the meeting because they're giving you $300 million. You take the meeting, you idiot. Let me just mention to you that the bureaucratic difficulty that you're giving the federal government right now, has it ever dawned upon you that the federal government, which may or may not be able to slow these $300 million or stop this $300 million, but has it ever dawned on you that the federal government could invert this bureaucratic foot dragging that you're giving them and that they give it to you? Right? If I was the federal government and I asked with a meeting for you and you said no, then the next time you contact me about that grant that you're I'm going to slow walk that grant. Do you not think that the federal government can slow walk all of your $300 million? They might not be able to stop. They might be able to stop some of it, but I can guarantee you they can slow walk a boatload of it. So why would you F with them? Have the meeting. It's about aren't you against anti-Semitism, Mayor Wu? Or maybe you're not. Because your senator, your congresswoman who just endorsed you is down meeting in Louisiana with the students who are pro-Hamas. The congresswoman who just endorsed you, in fact, is meeting with the pro-Hamas students in Louisiana, so maybe you're not against anti-Semitism. If they're giving you $300 million, you meet with them. And you don't say, we need proof before we meet. You have the meeting. Even if you just sit there. Even if you just, and you don't say much. Which might be a good idea because you're probably guilty of something. Oh, by the way, no Boston City Council meeting today. TFA, no meeting. She won't be there. None of the councilors will be there because, it was a Monday holiday. And so no meeting Wednesday. If it's a holiday Monday, you can't be expected to show up Wednesday. You meet with the Department of Justice because it's an anti-Semitism meeting. You don't drag your feet on it. This has the same type of echo that Attorney General Andrea Campbell is having with DZOG, right? All of the emails that DeZoglio released about a week and a half ago, whenever it was, are a perfect example of how the bureaucracy can drag its feet when it wants to. And that's exactly what's happening in those emails that DeZoglio released. It shows Andrea Campbell's office doing the least they could do. Literally, the least they could do. It's a textbook case of how the bureaucracy drags its feet. And this is a textbook case of how the bureaucracy drags its feet. Did it ever occur to the Wu administration that two can play that game? It should have. They are playing with fire when they don't even want to have a meeting about potential anti-Semitism. How awful does that make them look? Horrific.